Nearly 1 in 2 households, roughly 14 million Americans, are already carrying utility debt. For many retirees, the biggest fear is not about the size of the house or how nice it looks. The real terror hits when utility bills arrive at exactly the wrong time, when your fixed monthly budget is already stretched thin, when a single unexpected spike means choosing between keeping the lights on or paying for your medication. This is not reckless spending. This is the crushing weight of costs you cannot control. When bills become this kind of burden, the question stops being how beautiful a house can be. It becomes, is there any way to live more securely, with fewer financial shocks, for the next 20 or 30 years? And here's what makes this moment different. Although Tesla has not announced mass production of the Tesla tiny house, leaked information, current technology trends, and engineering analysis all point to one conclusion. This scenario is entirely possible. And we're here to bring you the latest updates every single day. So subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications, and let's break down whether the Tesla tiny house could genuinely help people like you reduce worry, cut unpredictable costs, and take back control. Utility bills, where does the reduction actually come from? Let's be completely clear. Reducing costs is not magic. It comes from better control. A tiny house helps cut what engineers call baseline operating costs: electricity, water, heating, and cooling. Less space means fewer things to maintain. It's not about cutting comfort, it's about eliminating waste you never even knew existed. Start with electricity. Here's how it works. Generate it, store it, use it. Solar panels on the roof help reduce dependence on the grid. A battery storage system, likely something similar to Tesla's Powerwall with around 13.5 kilowatt-hours of capacity, stores excess energy generated during the day. This means you avoid peak electricity rates when power companies charge the most. Priority goes to essential devices: your refrigerator, medical equipment if you need it, phone charging, and basic lighting. Now, the average American household uses about 877 kilowatt-hours per month. At current rates, that's roughly $140 to $160 a month, and that number climbs fast if you run air conditioning or heating heavily. In a tiny house, energy consumption drops dramatically. With a smaller footprint, efficient LED lighting, a compact refrigerator, a laptop, and a few small appliances, total usage typically falls to around 150 to 240 kilowatt-hours per month. That is about 1/4 of what a traditional home consumes. But here's where it gets better. A tiny house roof, even at just 25 to 35 square meters, can support a solar system producing around 18 to 25 kilowatt-hours per day. Compare that to daily usage of maybe 5 to 8 kilowatt-hours. The solar system generates far more than you actually need. The surplus goes into the battery, and on most days, that means you pull almost nothing from the grid. Your monthly electricity bill? Somewhere between $0 and $30. Not because you're living in the dark, because the system is sized correctly. Water works the same way. The average household uses about 300 gallons per day. 1 or 2 people in a tiny house, maybe 50 to 90 gallons. Low-flow shower heads, efficient toilets, fewer faucets, and better leak detection all contribute. The design itself reduces the chance of hidden leaks that silently drive up your bill. In places where regulations permit, rainwater collection and basic filtration can cut reliance on municipal water even further. The typical water bill for a traditional home runs $70 to $100 a month. In a tiny house, that drops to around $30 to $50.
Internet costs stay roughly the same regardless of house size. You will pay $40 to $70 a month for basic cable or fiber, or $30 to $60 for a mobile hotspot plan. So, let's add it up. In a conventional home, electricity, water, and internet combined typically cost $270 to $330 per month. In a Tesla tiny house, that figure falls to around $110 to $140. For a retiree living on a fixed income of maybe $2,000 a month, this is not a small detail. In a traditional home, utilities alone can consume 15% of your monthly income. In a tiny house, that drops to about 6%. The money you save does not vanish. It goes toward healthcare, food, transportation, or just stays in your account as a buffer against emergencies. And that buffer is what lets you sleep at night. But let's talk about what happens when the grid goes down, because in California, Texas, and Florida, power outages are not rare events. They happen during wildfires, ice storms, and hurricanes. In February 2021, Texas experienced rolling blackouts that left millions without power for days. Temperatures dropped below freezing. People could not heat their homes. Some died. In a traditional house connected only to the grid, you are completely vulnerable. When the power goes out, everything stops. With a solar roof and battery system, you have options. The power wall can provide backup power to critical circuits even when the grid is down. You will not run your entire house like normal, but you can keep the refrigerator running so your food does not spoil. You can charge your phone to call for help or check on family. You can power medical equipment if you need it. And if the sun is shining, the solar panels keep charging the battery, extending your independence for days or even weeks. This is not about living off-grid as a lifestyle choice. This is about survival during emergencies. For someone in their 70s with health conditions, losing power is not an inconvenience. It can be life-threatening. A tiny house with energy independence built in does not eliminate the risk of outages, but it gives you control when everyone else is sitting in the dark waiting for the utility company to restore service.
Natural disasters. Can a small house actually survive? No house is indestructible, but some houses are built to handle more than others. And for people living in high-risk areas, that difference matters. Let's talk about the disasters most common in the states where many retirees live. California faces wildfires, earthquakes, and heavy rain. Texas deals with hailstorms, tornadoes, and flooding. Florida endures hurricanes, storm surge, and powerful winds. Solar panels often raise concerns during hailstorms and high winds. Most quality panels are designed to withstand hail impacts up to 1 inch in diameter at around 50 miles per hour. Real-world storms, however, can exceed testing standards. What ultimately matters is the quality of the glass, the strength of the mounting system, the angle of installation, and whether storm damage is covered under warranty. If a panel is damaged, replacement is usually straightforward. The real risk is repair cost and downtime, not total system failure. Now, the structure of the house itself. High winds typically attack roofs and connection points first. If the roof is not properly secured, wind can get underneath and cause severe damage. Once the roof is compromised, water intrusion accelerates the destruction. Flooding presents a different threat. Without water-resistant materials and an elevated foundation, rising water can damage flooring, insulation, and electrical systems. Fire behavior depends largely on materials and spacing. Non-combustible exterior materials and defensible space around the home significantly reduce fire risk. Here is the realistic view. A tiny house is not storm-proof, but it can be designed to limit damage and recover faster. Elevated foundations help reduce flood exposure. Steel framing resists warping and fire better than wood. Fewer seams and joints in a compact roof mean fewer failure points during high winds. And because the structure is smaller, repairs tend to cost less and take less time. You are not rebuilding a full suburban house. You are restoring a compact system.
For someone in their late 60s or 70s, this matters. After a disaster, financial recovery time is limited. A home that can be repaired quickly allows you to regain stability sooner. A tiny house does not eliminate disaster risk, but it can make that risk more manageable.
Now let's address something many people underestimate until it is too late: the real cost of moving in. The sticker price of a home is never the final price. Traditional home purchases often include closing costs, inspections, appraisals, and loan fees that add several percent to the total price before move-in. With a tiny house, the additional costs are different but still significant. Transportation from the factory to your site can range from a few $1,000s depending on distance. Installation and setup, including leveling, anchoring, and utility connections, add additional expense. If the house is placed on private land, permits, inspections, and utility hookups vary widely by county and can range from modest to substantial. Insurance is another factor. Standard homeowners policies may not apply, particularly if the home is classified as a movable structure. Specialized coverage is available, but often costs more per square foot. Premiums can increase further in flood or fire-prone areas. Land costs also matter. If you do not already own property, monthly land leases or land purchases must be factored into the long-term budget. The key takeaway is this: evaluating a tiny house requires full transparency on total upfront costs, not just the base price. For retirees on fixed incomes, unexpected expenses can disrupt long-term financial planning. Before committing, it is essential to get written estimates for transportation, installation, permits, insurance, and land. Only then can you determine whether the overall cost truly fits your budget. Durability: less maintenance, less frustration. Retirees do not fear their house collapsing. They fear calling a repair technician every other month. The real cost is not one major failure. It is the steady accumulation of small problems: a leaking faucet, mold creeping into a corner, an electrical outlet that stops working, a door that no longer closes properly. Each one costs money, time, and energy that may already be in short supply. Most of these issues originate at joints, seams, and connection points. Traditional homes have thousands of them. Every place where two materials meet becomes a potential failure point. Water finds its way in, air leaks out, fasteners loosen, sealants degrade. Over time, maintenance becomes routine rather than occasional. A tiny house built using a modular, integrated approach changes this dynamic. The principle is simple: fewer parts create fewer opportunities for failure. Tesla's gigacasting process in vehicle manufacturing follows the same logic. Instead of assembling dozens of separate components, large sections are formed as single integrated pieces. Applied to housing, larger panels, fewer seams, and better materials reduce the frequency of recurring repairs. The result is not perfection, but a meaningful reduction in ongoing maintenance. The roof remains one of the most critical components. In residential disasters, roof failure accounts for the majority of insured losses. Once the roof is compromised, damage spreads quickly throughout the structure. A roof designed with minimal seams, durable materials, and proper installation significantly lowers the risk of leaks and wind-related damage. When maintenance is required, it is typically simpler and less costly because there are fewer components to inspect and replace. Durability also depends on placement and environment. A house exposed to standing water, constant high winds, or poor drainage will deteriorate faster regardless of design. But when properly sited and built with quality materials, a tiny house offers a clear advantage: fewer systems to maintain, fewer breakdowns, and less disruption to daily life. For someone living alone or with limited mobility, this matters. Coordinating contractors, scheduling repairs, and managing repeated maintenance visits becomes increasingly difficult over time. A well-designed home minimizes those demands and allows daily life to continue without constant intervention.
Durability, however, only has real value if it is supported by a meaningful warranty. Many warranties sound impressive, but shift the real cost back to the owner when repairs are needed. Coverage that excludes labor, shipping, or installation expenses offers little protection. What matters is whether major components can be repaired or replaced without imposing significant out-of-pocket costs. In practice, this means paying attention to how warranties are structured. Solar systems typically carry long-term performance guarantees. Battery systems are often covered for a defined capacity threshold over a fixed period. Structural components should include protection against corrosion and material failure. Equally important is whether labor is included and whether service providers are accessible. Before committing to any tiny house, it is essential to review warranty terms carefully. Understand what is covered, who pays for repairs, and how claims are handled. For retirees planning long-term stability, a warranty is only as valuable as the company standing behind it.
Privacy. Is a smart home worth the worry? Smart home technology worries people. Cameras, microphones, data tracking, electromagnetic fields, and their potential health effects. These concerns are not paranoia. They are legitimate questions about who controls your living space and what information leaves your home without your knowledge. Here is the truth. Not every device needs to be active all the time. The critical factor is whether you have the ability to turn things off, choose what runs, and control your own system. A smart home should serve you, not monitor you. That means 3 principles must be in place. First, every smart feature must have a manual on-off switch. If you do not want the camera running, you should be able to disable it completely, not just put it in standby mode. If you do not want voice activation, you should be able to turn off the microphone at the hardware level. Control belongs to the person living in the house. Second, data processing should happen locally, not in the cloud. When your thermostat adjusts the temperature or your lights respond to a motion sensor, that decision should be made inside your home on your equipment. Sending data to a remote server creates risk. Local processing keeps your information where it belongs. Third, automation must be manual first. The system should not take actions without your explicit permission. You set the rules, the system follows them. It does not learn your behavior and start making decisions on its own. You remain in charge. For people with medical devices like pacemakers or insulin pumps, electromagnetic field exposure is a real concern. The solution is not to avoid all technology. It is to check the specifications, consult with your doctor, and make an informed decision. Most residential systems operate at levels far below what would interfere with medical equipment. But if you have specific devices, verify compatibility before moving in. Privacy in a tiny house comes down to design philosophy. If the technology is built to maximize your control and minimize data collection, it works for you. If it is built to collect and monetize your behavior, it works against you. The difference is not the technology itself, it is how that technology is configured and who holds the power to change it. Now, beyond technology and privacy, there is another fear many retirees face: isolation. Loneliness kills. Studies show that social isolation increases mortality risk as much as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. For someone living alone in a traditional suburban home, neighbors may be physically close but socially distant. You wave from the driveway, you never talk, and if you need help, you have no idea who to call. Tiny house communities change this dynamic. When you live in a community designed around shared spaces, common amenities, and regular interaction, isolation becomes much harder. You see the same people at the community garden. You run into neighbors at the shared laundry facility. You participate in group activities if you want to, or you stay in your own space if you prefer. The choice exists, and that choice matters. Some communities are specifically designed for older adults. They include on-site support services, wellness checks, and emergency response systems. If you fall or have a medical emergency, someone notices.
Compare that to living alone in a traditional home where you could lie on the floor for days before anyone realizes something is wrong. For people without close family nearby, this kind of built-in safety net can mean the difference between independence and institutionalization. But community also requires compatibility. Not every tiny house community will suit every person. Some are quiet and focused on privacy. Others emphasize social activities and group cohesion. Some allow pets, others do not. Some have age restrictions, others welcome all ages. Before committing to a community, visit in person. Talk to current residents, ask about rules, fees, and expectations, and make sure the culture fits your personality, because if you hate the community, the house itself will not matter.
So here is the bottom line. If the Tesla tiny house becomes a reality, it will not be about showing off advanced technology. It will be about helping specific people live with more stability and less fear. Utility bills you can predict instead of dread. Natural disaster risk you can prepare for instead of just hoping it does not happen. Fewer repair calls, fewer surprise expenses, fewer disruptions to your daily routine, and privacy settings you actually control. This kind of housing is not for everyone. It works best for people living alone or with a pet, people who value predictable costs over maximum space, and people who accept that enough is better than excess. It does not work for people who need large living areas, people who reject any form of constraint, or people who fundamentally distrust technology. If you are still watching, here's what I need from you. Comment below with the state you live in and your biggest concern: utility bills, natural disasters, maintenance costs, or privacy. I will create a detailed follow-up video analyzing your specific region and what matters most to you. And do not forget to subscribe to this channel so you get the latest information every single day as this story develops. Because whether or not Tesla moves forward with this, the need is real and the technology exists. The only question is whether it reaches the people who actually need it most.